Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the crony economy, the controlled economy, the structured economy, the centrally planned economy, because we're pretty much there as it is in the Western world, and of course, China and it being a big planned economy. So there's very little left that you could say is driven by market forces. Sure, there's some, but really there's very little at the end of the day. Big finance can now control inputs and outcomes, market structures, all those sorts of things. It can now be controlled by big finance, and working to succeed in a competitive market, having the best product, the best service, the best prices, the best delivery, whatever, that's not easy. You've got to be good to beat the other guys and to deliver the best. But it's, why go through that stress and heartache? Why not just fix or rig the market? A bit like you fix or rig an election, something like that. It's just big finance has got that power to do it. And why not use that power? You've got the power, why not use it? And that's their attitude. The idea of competing and running the risk, because there's risk involved with competition. You might lose. The other guy might do better. You might get it wrong. You might think the product is right for the people are going to buy it, but they don't. And but if you can fix it and rig it so that really there's only a few options for the people to take up, then, or even a single option, then it's like a monopoly or an oligopoly or a duopoly or cartel pricing. The people have got to buy it at the end of the day, and the more you have that's under that sort of control, the bigger the profits you can make. Now, on top of controlling sort of what people can buy and where they can get it and how they get it, that sort of thing, they can also lower the cost of doing business by importing gazillions of cheap third world peasants to come in. And so they can even control the costs at the input side as well, by artificially affecting what otherwise would have been market forces. But there's a price you pay for that. Whenever you deviate from market forces, you start moving X amount of steps away from reality. And the further away you move from reality, the more you live in a bubble, and the more you can just believe your own bullshit and believe the fantasies of your own concoctions, which is largely where we are today. People running around and say, well, Joe Biden's a great president. No, nothing wrong with him. He's as sharp as a tack and so on. I mean, when the guy's a blithering fucking idiot. And but because they can live in that bubble divorced from all reality, as indeed big finance does, because they can control inputs and outcomes and structures, then you get a certain sort of laziness and ineptitude and absurdity and so on, all rolled into one. Now, just on that subject, one thing I've noticed certainly over the years is and more recently than say the last 10 plus years, I've noticed how many socialites, and we're talking pure socialites, no experience in business at all. They've never had to make a decision in their lives. They've never attempted anything, and so they've never failed at anything or learned any lessons or have the discipline of having to succeed and achieve things in an environment of absolute reality. They've never had that. They've always lived on the stage, on a movie set, where working from scripts and so on. So I noticed the socialites going in, and sometimes it's rather sad because these people are. Again, they've never worked a day in their lives, but because they're well connected into the big financial end of town, they're being gifted jobs on boards of directors, as CEOs, and this sort of thing. There's a certain amount of, I suppose, cachet in it. The name of a big socialite appearing on the board of directors, and that would excite certain people and think, oh wow, gee, this is a serious business. When in reality, these people are just being gifted these jobs and parachuted in, and usually it's a prestigious role, lots of very positive media coverage, that sort of thing, and those types of things. And and the newer industries, the online media, online buying and selling, all this sort of stuff. And the big end of town, the big financial end of town really got behind this. And it clearly would have had a future. That would have been hard to miss. But they were right from the beginning, as in not even waiting for a company to get up and prove that it could do the business. Right from the early stages, when a company had revenues of maybe $100,000, the Wall Street, if you like, and I'll use that term generically, Wall Street was already picking winners and thought, we want that company to succeed. And they would move in with their money and they would just take control of it. You know, some software guys designed it or written the code, and they'd flick him a few mil and so on. Some of them get kept on and some left out front so they can be really edgy social justice warriors and that sort of crap. But the reality is that success had nothing to do with them. Now you can create success. So what Wall Street was doing was they, you know, again, it could be $100,000 revenues, and they say, okay, we're gonna make this company a success. We're going to talk all the funds into putting money in it. We're going to divert customers to it. We're going to make it a success, not through market forces, but through like forced mass migration. We're going to, you know, forced massed amounts of money and massed amounts of customers into this shell, this company shell, and make it a success. And any other companies doing the same thing, we'll buy them out, we'll crush them, we'll stop them, we'll bury them under an avalanche of you know, legal stuff. But we've decided who the winners are going to be, and we're just going to now, with that sort of power that, you know, Wall Street's got, but because they've got the power to you know, get all the return funds and all the big investors around town to put money into this business, they can once they've got this this shell of a company they're starting up, then they put in, they look around for socialites to parachute into it. Now, if you look at some of these, you know, and I'm talking the eBays, the Googles, and, you know, all those sorts of ones. You look at the very early stages of it before it's even known outside of Wall Street, or even known by more than a few people in Wall Street. They're already going to socialites around town. Now there's one woman I'm thinking of. She was gifted a job on the board of one of the big toy companies, and had never, you know, worked a fucking day in her life, but was had been gifted a job there, and was being handsomely paid, by the way, and then she was moved from there, or decided to move from there to go into a startup, you know, internet company that had revenues of not even $1 million. I mean, that was like a tenth of what her previous annual salary had been. So somehow this highly paid woman in a prestigious brand name company just decides suddenly to get up and go into this startup that's barely got a nickel of revenues, and walk away from a $10 million a year job. I mean, yeah, right, sure, that's what you do. But they were able to, again, Wall Street was able to get these socialites from all around the place, from these big name firms, and then just parachute them into these startup companies that I think, yeah, out of all those startup companies, a basket of internet type and related startups, I think the biggest one was like had $3.5 million annual revenues, and these people are being brought from companies that have got, you know, $1 billion revenues and very prestigious international names, and they're just suddenly queuing up to go into these unheard of businesses. Now, clearly, the whole thing was being orchestrated by the Wall Street goons, and they pre-decided that these organisations were going to, you know, the Facebooks and the YouTubes and you know, the Googles and the Twitters and all this sort of thing. They all have a starting point the same. It's the Wall Street goons that are creating them and delivering them to the market and making sure that market forces don't get in the way, and that all these socialites are put in there. Sure, they'll leave, you know, a Zuckerberg here or a whatever, the Google guy, was it Sergey Brin or something? They leave those guys out front to make it look good, so they can make all these social justice pronouncements, and we believe Trump is bad, and all they leave those people there. The reality is the whole thing is a goose that's cooked by Wall Street. From the whole thing, it's all a Wall Street play, and none of it is real or actual market forces. Far from it. And then all these socialites are parachuted in to make it look good and to give this veneer of corporate legitimacy and that sort of thing. But nobody would leave a $10 million a year cozy job with a lot of prestige to go into some $100,000 a year startup. You just don't do those sorts of things. But it goes to show just how controlled it was, that the Wall Street goons could say, go with this, we will guarantee you we will turn this company into $1 billion company within the next year or so. So don't worry, your prestige will be intact, nothing will go wrong, we'll make sure of it, you'll be taken care of, and we'll give you other shares around town to compensate you for any financial loss. We'll give you stock options, we'll do this, we'll do that. So these people are being parachuted in and being well looked after. But it's an illustration. Again, $100,000 a year company can suddenly attract all these big names, big corporate names, and you can see it's a completely controlled market. In fact, the entire sort of high-tech sector, pretty much in terms of online, whether it be online news, online buying, online information, it's entirely controlled by the Wall Street goons. And I think we can see the effects of that today, because those Wall Street goons are the same people that are forcing globalization onto an unwilling populace, and who own all the governments, Western governments of the world, who are forcing the mass migration, forcing the real estate prices to go hysterical, so that the middle class is being priced out of existence, and so on. You've been with Tassos today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.